It's completely landlocked in an area of million-dollar houses. It belongs to us and always will. And if anybody after me sells it, I will come back and haunt them from my grave.
I'm Olivia Smith, and we're on San Lorenzo Street in Santa Monica Canyon, visiting the oldest existing private cemetery in Los Angeles. The families buried here were very involved with the start of this area and the events that shaped it. Let's go back in time to the Pascual Marquez Family Cemetery. Our expert guides to the past are Ernest and Monica Marquez. They're descendants of the men who started this cemetery, and Ernest is a local historian. Monica, tell us who started this cemetery.
This cemetery was started by the family of Pascual Marquez. He was a direct descendant of Francisco Marquez. The whole area was cattle ranches owned by land-grant families. There were hundreds of them all throughout the state of California. When the American settlers came, they found out that all the best land was owned by the Mexican rancheros. One of the ways they got the Mexicans to agree to not fight the Americans anymore was told them that they could keep their land. And that was known as the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. So what the United States did is formed a commission to try to verify the titles of the Mexican land claims. The law stacked the deck in favor of the American landowners. So many of the Mexicans lost their land. Because we had fought with Francisco Sepulveda for so many years, we had a record of our land grant and its boundaries. So we were able to prevail, and we kept our entire land grant. It's completely landlocked in an area of million-dollar houses. We've had to have litigation in order to have access to the cemetery, and we won everything because it belongs to us and always will. When the land was subdeveloped in the 1920s, this cemetery was carved out from the subdivided lots. But what happened is that the family owned the cemetery, but this lot was owned by somebody else.
So it was two lots, this lot here, and then the one that we're gonna enter and take a tour of.
These people built a house here, and they still own this part of the lot.
Okay.
So the neighbors around here formed a group, and through their fundraising efforts, they bought this piece of the lot, and it's called El Santuario.
I didn't realize that the community helped preserve it as well.
Oh yes, we are indebted to them.
In 2000, the Los Angeles Cultural Heritage Commission recognized the cemetery as a historic cultural monument. So Pascual's marker here seems to be a very prominent point in the cemetery.
For many years, it was the only marker in the cemetery. The crosses were generally made out of wood, and they either deteriorated or were stolen over the years. So for many years, until my dad made these crosses, this was the only one remaining. But when we were in the process of preserving the cemetery, there were no headstones.
So all of these crosses were crosses you designed?
Yeah.
How did you go about doing it?
How does any artist go about doing a painting? I just start making.
Tell us about the 1910 New Year's Eve debacle.
My ancestor made a feast for New Year's, and it included canned peaches. And what happened was the peaches had ptomaine in them. So in the next few days, at least 10 family members died of the poisoning, including one infant who didn't eat the peaches, but was left unattended for several days, and she died too. Their graves are over here.
All these people, these crosses there are people who died from the.
This was a hugely sad event for the entire population of Santa Monica.
So what are you going to tell your next generations about keeping this land and preserving it?
Yes, do that forever, because it belongs to us and always will. And if anybody after me sells it, I will come back and haunt them from my grave.